So now that we understand the basics of Cisco routers and what they are, it's time to start working with them. And like we did with the switch, we want to go through a basic configuration of a Cisco router. Now this happens to be a 2900 series router, and we've booted it up, and because it's the first time we've started it, we're looking at the system configuration dialog, it's called. I like to call it the initial configuration wizard. So it asks if I want to continue with the configuration dialog, and I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And this allows me to get started and give it some basic settings. And we'll look at how to do these settings manually as well, but I just want you to see this dialog also. It asks if I want to enter basic management setup, and I'll say yes, which is going to let me set up the management interfaces. And the first thing it wants to know is, what is my host name? Well, I'm going to make it R3-temp. We'll change it to just R3 later so we can see how to set the host name manually. But this is the name of this router. So we'll go ahead and hit enter on that. It wants to know an enable secret password. So we'll go with Cisco. And then it wants an enable password, which is going to be the one that would be used for older software versions. We'll just put Cisco here, and then it needs my virtual terminal password, which will make Cisco as well. So that's for connecting with VTY lines through Telnet, for example. The question it asks next is, do you want to set up snmp network management? Well, we're not ready to talk about snmp in this course, so we're not going to be configuring that. But snmp is the simple network management protocol, and it is used to get alerts or information about the different devices on your network, and it is also used to configure those devices to some extent. So we're going to say no, which is also the default. And now it's asking me to choose the management interface. I'm actually going to go with VLAN 1 in this case. We can always change it later. And so it asks, do you want to configure the interface for VLAN 1? And I'll go ahead and say, yes, I do want to configure that IP address. And we'll give it an address of 10.10.10.2 or 3. Let's make it 3 so it matches the router name. And then we'll do a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. It's just giving me the default Class A subnet mask, which I don't want to use. And now it's asking, okay, you've said you want to set up interface VLAN 1 with no shutdown, an IP address of 10.10.10.3 with a subnet mask of 255.255.255.0. You've said you want your line VTY 0 to 4 to have a password of Cisco. You have an enable password of Cisco and an enable secret password, which is also Cisco with a capital C. We just can't see it. And then you can see your other interfaces. Do you want to save it and continue? And I'll hit 2 to do that. We could say 0, just go to the iOS command prompt without saving it, or 1, return to the setup and start over it again. We'll go ahead and hit 2, and this takes me into the command prompt, and we can begin using it.